Hello, dear friends. It's not the end of the world, but the end of ignorance of our true spiritual nature. The prison cells of the matrix have been opened and we have not yet realized it. Opinion piece. The end of ignorance. End of spiritual ignorance. An end to cosmic isolation. We are a free planet again. They are pushing the offensive. Galactic quarantine lifted. There is an information overload. The dark side wants to do something crazy. The next few months would be full of turmoil. Spain would return to the peseta after the fall of the euro. Not the end of the world, but the end of ignorance. The white hats need to raise smokescreen. Eagle, bear and dragon star in the end times. Let's start. A quarantine is a preventive isolation of people, animals or things for a period of time. On a cosmic level, it means the preventive isolation of a planet such as Earth. The news of the day was delivered by Aurora Ray. Earth's galactic quarantine has been lifted and we must prepare for mass ascension. Humankind has been quarantined for eons. This means that we have not been allowed to travel beyond our atmosphere or interact with other star systems. This quarantine has been slowly lifted by a plethora of different galactic races that have helped us to slowly evolve our consciousness. This is all part of the Grand Master's plan that is being orchestrated by our galactic family. We are finally ready to move into fifth dimensional consciousness and have passed the tests. Earth-based lightworkers are now free to share their true stories about star visitors and how they have interacted with humankind for millennia. This is an exciting time for all starseeds, lightworkers, crystal children, and the entire humankind. The truth is finally beginning to emerge from the shadows. Humankind is preparing to ascend from a third-dimensional planet Earth to a fifth-dimensional death that we have heard of as heaven on Earth. Some may even choose to join their galactic brothers and sisters on other planets throughout the cosmos. The event is called Mass Ascension. It is a planetary event that would take place in all countries of the world simultaneously, but it would happen gradually in stages. Every humankind living on this planet will be affected by this event, so it is important that we are prepared. Misunderstanding. This would be an intergalactic event overseen by our visitors. It is a federation of planets, star systems and galaxies that follow the law of one and are in service of humankind and peace. The first step in preparing for ascension is to realize who the Federation really is. The Federation has worked diligently to prepare humankind for its ascension, but there are still many who are skeptical. The Federation is not the so-called infiltrated spiritual leaders who attempt to sabotage the ascension of humankind by any means possible, whether they are aware of it or not. There is only one galactic federation, and there is no need to add of wealth or of light to this name because it is both. When there is a galaxy filled with various planetary systems that are inhabited by many galactic societies that for the most part coexist peacefully with each other, wouldn't it make sense that there would be a galactic federation that oversees evolution, coexisting, and ensures peace throughout the galaxy and its billions of beings? Do you really believe that there are 2 or 3 of these federations that would be good or bad? Many advanced civilizations are ready to come from all over the cosmos, providing us with information and guidance to help us prepare for our ascension into the fifth dimension. The Federation has lifted the quarantine of Earth and is preparing for mass immigration from other planets. This is the event we have been waiting for. The time is now. The place is here. Prepare for the Great Ascension. The end of ignorance. Armageddon means the end of the world, but if we look at Armageddon in another light, we see that it can also mean the end of ignorance. This is significant because it is ignorance about our true nature as spiritual beings that prevents us from understanding that there are energies that control the entire universe. This energy, chi or life force, is literally everywhere and in everything. Ignorance of true nature also manifests itself as conflict between religions and nations. It is this ignorance that fuels war and violence. It refers to the end of humankind's collective ignorance, our thinking that we are limited beings living a short life on one planet in one solar system. In reality, we are infinite beings with a limited potential, who can experience any kind of life we choose and who live on countless planets in many solar systems. Humankind as a whole is now ready to recognize this truth, and this recognition will lead to a massive ascension into higher realms where all beings experience perfect peace and unconditional love all the time. This is a time in world history when we are being called to a greater awareness of who we are and what we are doing here. The signs of the times, which have been increasing in recent years, indicate that we are living in a period of global awakening. We are not the only ones ascending mass into the next dimension. In fact, we will not even be the first. Many outer races that have been guiding humankind for thousands of years are joining us in our shift into consciousness and raising their frequency as well. Know that all negative alien species have been expelled from the Earth's atmosphere, as well as from our inner solar system. Earth is once again a free planet. The time of the divine plan is coming to full fruition. Definition: ignorance is the lack of knowledge. It is a concept that indicates a lack of knowledge or experience and has application in the philosophical, pedagogical, and legal fields. In Hinduism and Buddhism, it is called avidya or moha, and is the first stage in the chain of the causes of suffering, and one of the three poisons of karma: ignorance, desire, and disgust. Wise ignorance is that in which one knows that one does not know. Profound ignorance is one in which one does not know that one does not know. Ignorance is the mother of weakness and all other vices. Said Galileo, "My guts are annoying." Sorry. The disease of the ignorant is to ignore his own ignorance. Ignorance is the mother of daring. There is nothing more terrible than to see ignorance in action. True wisdom lies in knowing one's own ignorance. The highest form of ignorance is when you reject something you know nothing about. We do not know why we do not want to know. To get out of poverty, you have to get out of ignorance. The goal of the dark side would be to nullify critical thinking and evaluate the level of education and culture to such an extent that any human being can become a minister, and that is what they call democratizing ignorance, in quotes. Censorship, information, or intentional disinformation are still a brake on the development of knowledge under the assumption that ignorance facilitates the exercise of power. Reflections. If there was a day of huge UFO presence, wouldn't they logically disable the technology and build a sensationalist event and timeline around this day? Ranra's message number 55. Do you think that we are not effective? For we are. We just have to drive this process. The collective free will of humankind wants it to happen now, not later. We are the true sovereigns of the earth, and we take responsibility for it. We just keep insisting louder and louder on how it will happen, whether we like it or not. To persist is to remain steadfast or constant in something. News of the reset, or reset news. The next few months could be full of turmoil, writes Jude Bington. There is only one intelligence group that is told when it will happen, but they don't talk. The date will be decided by the quantum computer and will be based on security concerns. Any other date is pure speculation. Everything is done gradually, but in secret. Recently, I have come to understand that some of our words are key. The rumors of war means we are ready to act, and the threat of fear is the creation of false evidence that looks real. On 12th October, some Asian bankers asked for more time for the currency revaluation to start. It had been set for 13th October, but that was not a good day to start, as it was bad for Muslims and Jews. The Muslims didn't want Friday, and the Jews didn't want Saturday. Reservations are expected to be activated in the US, Canada, the UK, the European Union, Iceland, South America, Mexico, Africa, Malaysia, and more than 80 other countries. The aim is to activate the process as soon as possible, so that people in financial trouble do not panic. Charlie Watt says there were two restarts in play, the good one and the bad one, but the bad guy restart is dead now. In Spain, we will end up going back to the peseta after the fall of the euro. All arrests in Europe go first to Rota, Cádiz, and from there to the famous holiday at sea, Bay. It is ensured that, for the avoidance of doubt, we download an app, Flight Radar, and check it between 3:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. every night. These arrests have occurred over the past 2 years. Charlie claims to be the spokesman of the quantum financial system. Big news is expected. In the world of humanitarian initiatives, we are here to empower and educate people and unite humankind to raise awareness, eliminate ignorance, and create a better world. There are days left because the dark side would have to do something crazy. We are heading into the crazy season, and it looks like some things are lining up that may lead to the way. Hold on tight, brace yourself, and fasten your seatbelts because it is going to be bumpy. Logan B. opines that now that they are starting a Red October scenario with the report of a missing Russian nuclear submarine, they wouldn't think twice about a false flag operation to blame the Russians, Logan B. opines. In Logan B's opinion, the light has been talking about the new financial system for years, but it is not happening. If the light doesn't keep its promise this time, the Western world will face problems next year, as the dark will try to impose more restrictions. Mark Sira believes that they need to maintain a smokescreen to hide the white hat operations. They are going to sow a lot of disinformation at the moment because they need to keep things murky, and they are doing it on purpose. So don't panic when you see a news story. Prepare yourself mentally for this. They want to cloud the exact moment. When it comes, it will be a cheeseburger loaded with cheese, bacon, and egg. Unfold. Nick Fleming writes that this system almost failed in the 2008 financial collapse. However, instead of collapsing, this crisis became a springboard for draconian corrections and further separating the rich from the poor. The monetary system is a machine run by entities protected by licenses and laws. Like every system in place today, it has its tentacles in every nation. Leadership was elected from those who understood who they served. According to the X22 report, the world economic system is slowing down, inflation is eating away at people's money, there is less money and less spending, which means that the economy is beginning to deteriorate. Wages are keeping up with inflation. The Davos Forum is setting out its agenda, and people are falling back. People can now see the economic difference because the jackals are making their move, according to the X22 report. Gregory Mannarino says or thinks a new cycle of debt expansion is coming, but don't call it quantitative easing. Gregory Mannarino warns that the risk of a bond market crash is increasing. Japan's bond market is officially broken. Lynette Thang says it is important to peg the dollar to gold. Big Swear says the mint is ready for a gold and silver coin standard to meet demand. D-Day would be the day a single too big to fail bank fails and takes all financial systems with it. Big Swear says there are two financial hurricanes hitting right now: the implosion of the UK derivatives market and the failure of Florida insurance companies due to Hurricane Ian. It's the end game. Game over. Glenn Beck thinks the economy is like the Titanic, and it's time to get on a lifeboat. Saving ourselves before massive destruction occurs may not be an option any longer. They should show the Titanic down so we can get people into lifeboats. When food production stops because electricity prices are too high, we begin to see inflation and import tariffs as excuses that no longer explain rising prices. Sinfu writes that the whales are getting rid of treasuries. The biggest buyers of debt are becoming sellers, and this adds huge risks to an already fragile bond market. We have foreign governments, pension funds, and even commercial banks dumping their bonds. As rates continue to rise, countries require more cash to defend their own currencies, while large banks and funds take huge losses on their bonds. This massive cash sell-off could trigger a bond market crash. Curious. After 15 years of study of the Shroud of Turin, a hyper-realistic reproduction of what the body of Jesus looked like has been achieved. All US executives and engineers in China's semiconductor industry resign. India is expected to overtake China as the world's most populous country. Humankind is now twice the size it was in 1973. Researchers say video games could cause heart attacks in children if they get too excited. Gates Foundation pledges $200 million for global digital identification and civil registration databases. Other countries. Sweden will build new nuclear reactors to secure its citizens' energy needs, say the new incoming government parties. Turkish pipeline saboteurs captured. The Turk Stream pipeline was under attack by saboteurs who planned to blow up a section of the chain carrying Russian natural gas to Turkey, but the suspects were arrested. Turkey passes a law allowing social media users and journalists to be jailed for allegedly spreading disinformation. They would face a prison sentence of 1 to 3 years. North Korea fired 170 artillery shells into the buffer zone in violation of the 2018 Inter-Korean Agreement, South Korea's military says. A statement by Colonel Douglas MacGregor, former senior advisor of the Secretary of Defense, in quotes, "We spent 8 years building this military in Ukraine for the express purpose of attacking Russia. That's what it was designed to do. That's why the Russians attacked." Russia and Ukraine had reached a preliminary agreement that could have halted hostilities during talks brokered by Turkey in late March. Those agreements were almost initiated, but the leadership in Kiev lost all desire to have talks, says Sorcha Fall. Nancy Pelosi tells cameras she would punch Donald Trump in the face and happily go to jail for assault, according to CNN. Juan Osebin says if Trump were to be arrested, what would happen then? How far would it go? They want him locked up for 20 years. Trees felled at Mar-a-Lago. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.